Hello, good morning from Pinhole Quilting. Apologies for being a little later than we expected. Pete's putting his hands up like this because Facebook, is my mic, I hope my mic's working. Facebook, it wasn't working on his phone. So we've had to change the phones over and mine is working. Pete, I think mine's working, but you're gonna have to check and make sure mic's working because all the tests we did were on Pete's phone. Hey, this is the joy of going live. Just imagine if it was live TV and we were broadcasting to thousands of people. Instead, we're just broadcasting to thousands of people on Facebook Live. Of course. Who wouldn't want to watch Pinhole Quilting on a Saturday morning at 11 a.m? Good question. Because actually, I'm sure we've got some people that we know who will be here imminently. And what we're going to do today is a few things that are new to us because we're delighted to say we've just been shipping this week the Pro Stitcher Lite out to some of our Pinhole Quilting Moxie and soon to be Simply 16 customer. One of our customers who got a Simply has also taken up the opportunity to have Pro Stitcher Lite. And that's something that's very exciting for those people who want to get into computerized quilting and have got one of the smaller end in the Handi Quilter range. So anyway, let's just do a little catch up, shall we, Pete? Should we do a catch up?
Let's do that. Say hello to a few people
first.
Let's
say hello to a few people. Who have we got?
First online this morning was Jane Morley.
Jane! Oh, good morning from it's Portsmouth.
Southsea, yes.
Southsea, yeah.
Might still be sunny with you, Jane. It's raining here.
Yeah. I think you're due to keep it for a little bit longer than we have. I'm sad to say that beautiful blistering temperature that we had yesterday, and we enjoyed a lovely evening in the garden yesterday, it's gone. It's gone completely. It's very sad actually because one of my neighbours, lovely Gail, has got one of the National Garden Scheme open days tomorrow, and she was just absolutely gutted that it wasn't going to be as nice. But at least it's not due to be raining, so that's good. Anyway, who else have we got?
We've got Claire Shortland.
Claire, hi, and we're looking forward to seeing you soon, very soon.
And Shelley from Iowa. I don't think Shelley's been online before.
No,
Morning,
Shelley from Iowa.
Very early for you, Shelley.
Iowa. I've got a friend who's just gone to Iowa. Yeah, brilliant.
Nikki.
I always think Iowa and Caucasus go together, but that's a bit political probably.
Nikki in Bromsgrove, just up the road.
Oh yes, Nikki, hi, good to hear from you, and hopefully we'll see you for Stuart Hillard's Open Day on the 11th of July. And for anybody who hasn't signed up for the Open Day, if you're interested in maybe looking at a long arm, or even if you're one of our existing more local customers, we'd love to see you. Stuart will be here. There's a morning and an afternoon session. I'll be doing a trunk show. Trunk show, what does that mean? One of our lovely customers, Bella, asked us, what does trunk show mean? It's quite a common phrase in the States, but not perhaps so common over in the UK. And what it means is some of the quilts that Stuart has quilted, he'll be bringing with him and showing you. So it's almost like he's bringing a trunk and he's opening it up and showing you the beautiful quilts that he's done. And he's got an Amara with Pro Stitcher. We had an Avanti with Pro Stitcher prior to that, and we installed the new Amara in January. So he's delighted with that. It's going super duper fast. It's much faster than his Avanti.
We've also got Louise online this morning, who's waiting for her Pro Stitcher Lite to arrive on Tuesday.
Fantastic. I mean, Louise, that's going to be very exciting. And I'll be sending you another email, the welcome to Pro Stitcher Lite email that I've just done this morning. And you should have that soon. I also sent you an email and you've joined our Facebook group. So thank you very much for joining that. There's a special Pro Stitcher Lite Facebook group that we'll be using to give you more information about things that are new on Pro Stitcher Lite. So we hope that by having that little group that you'll be able to communicate with each other and share some of the information about what you discover about how you're using Pro Stitcher Lite, as well as us communicating with you. And also we'll be arranging the Zoom intro Q&A session for that too. So if anybody's interested in Pro Stitcher Lite, those are the kind of things that we're doing with our customers. And also I'll show you some of the things about the setup too. Which might be useful to you, Louise, and anybody else who's got Pro Stitcher Lite who received it yesterday.
Carol is online.
Carol, you are a star, because it was very useful. That USB stick that you get is actually the right size for determining the track. So we're going to show you a video. We're going to do a video of how you do that on the Pro Stitcher Lite with the loft frame. And some of the other setup things, I mean, there'll be things that we learn as we go. It's a brand new product to us, and it's all CE certified now. Handi Quilter is one of those companies that actually does things really by the book, and we couldn't ship it out to you until we got the CE certification. And that's a really important thing. And it's actually, interestingly, not all companies do it. So we feel that it's a very important thing that Handi Quilter invest the time to make sure it's all absolutely CE certified including the computerized system. You don't have to order it direct from the States.
So Carol was the very first person to get her Pro Stitcher Lite up and running yesterday, which she did in about an hour and a half. So that gives you
amazing.
An indication.
Carol, you're a star. You're an absolute star.
Just a couple more hellos. Can't say hello to everybody, but
no, but we do say hello to everybody.
There's Myri joining us from Darwin in Australia. I've seen
Darwin. Do you know? I won't say I lived. I stayed up in Darwin for quite a few weeks. I bought my Ford Falcon XC sedan. What was it? 4.2 litre.
Lots of more...
up in Darwin. Beautiful. I love Darwin.
Anyway, morning everybody.
Morning.
We're back because we've been away.
We've been away, and we had a lovely time. We went, it was almost 2 weeks, wasn't it, really? Yeah, Pete's just sort of, it's got this little shelf here now. Because we saw, I mean, it's 3 years since we've been to Italy to see our relatives, or Pete's relatives, well, my relatives too now. And it was 25 years or more, 28 years, was it? 28 years since he'd seen some of his cousins. So we went down to where his lovely mother, Angelina, was from, east of Naples, in an area, actually, if you ever watch, what is it, that hotel?
I'll think of it in a moment.
Yeah. You know that lovely one with...
Fred.
Fred
does the sort of... what's it called? The Restaurant Love Program.
Yeah.
And he did one that was based in the UK, but they did one that was overseas as well.
Yeah, in Italy.
And that was in Italy.
Just down the road.
Just down the road.
From where Pete's from originally, or Pete's mum's from. Anyway, it was lovely. But the thing is about the Italians is that you get a huge amount of food when they welcome you to their family. And my goodness, what an incredible welcome it was. It was such a warm welcome. I can't explain what it feels like to be part of an Italian family and be invited to a lunch that comprises 8 courses. Can I just say that Pete did have a lie down between courses 6 and 7. Mm-hmm. Yep,
I wasn't the only one.
I wasn't the only one, and it was very hot. Anyway, we spent a few days in Rome, and then we went up to Pete's brother in Umbria and spent some time with grandchildren and his son and daughter and families. So very, very much a post-COVID catch-up because we hadn't been able to see them. So I hope that anybody who was away didn't have some of the problems that we did of travel when the lovely company with the orange logo decided to cancel our flight 5 hours before we were due to leave from our Umbrian base. There you go. It was a mad dash up the country from Umbria. Instead of going to Rome, we went to Florence first, didn't we? Via Assisi. Then we went to Bologna. Then we went to Venice by train. And it was 45 minutes later, late from the train station. And when we got there were no taxis. And we managed to get a taxi. And Pete said, "We're pretty late. Can you get us there fairly quickly?" Now, you don't want to say that to an Italian driver. I can tell you that now. So it was quite interesting. Anyway, enough of all this. I've talked for a lot, haven't I?
Graham's online. Graham's on holiday in Spain, by the looks of it.
Oh, I saw the photo. I hope you've been down that water slide. Have we got a GIF of that yet, Graham? I hope we have. You coming down that water slide, the green one. Fantastic.
Right, so
all
here
right,
we go.
So our customers from all around the world and our customers, the customers of Handi Quilter from all around the world, we welcome you to our Facebook Live. We hope that you find this session really interesting. So what we're going to do first of all is show you something about the Pro Stitcher Lite setup. So the components that you get, and then we're going to dig in and we go right to the live demonstrations. So I'm just going to explain to you some of the components. Now you use your existing Moxie carriage, which just comprises these white sections. It doesn't comprise this as well, because this is what you put in. This is the Pro Stitcher, and this is called the Pro Stitcher tray. And you basically insert your tray into the carriage that you already have. And this has got the cogwheels on it, okay, and all the wiring and everything, and then it fits onto your Moxie loft or Littlefoot frame. The Simply 16 is the similar sort of situation, and we haven't got one of those out to show you, but you'll change the carriage for a 4-wheel carriage, and it'll be like this, very similar to this. Installation instructions, but also, apart from written instructions, which are fine, I mean, in terms of written instructions, they're excellent, but there's no substitute for actually seeing things. So there is an app that you can use. Oh, what happened to my tablet?
Which is the same app you would have used if you bought the Moxie with the loft frame. The Built app also has very good instructions on it for installing Pro Stitcher Lite.
Yeah. So I'm just going to show you. Oh, of course it's gone on to... Yeah. So there is the Built app. You can go on to... If I just go back... Handi Quilter instructions, little foot frame, loft frame, Moxie, Pro Stitcher Lite, and the Simply 16 are all on the Built app. And if you go onto the onto here and go onto Pro Stitcher Lite, it actually gives you a QR code. You can do that with your phone. And have you got your phone there?
Or your tablet.
Or your tablet. And I'll do that while I'm doing other things. I think I can multitask. I can multitask.
Yeah, let me do that because I know where to find the...
All right, you do that. The Built app. Yeah, we need the QR code. So the QR code is really useful because you'll be able to do that, or you can go straight onto the Built app from the iPlay or Google Android Play Store and download it, because then it gives you these interactive applications. Yep. Okay, so it's opening up the Built app. And we can go onto there, you can keep track of it, got it, okay. And then we search for the product, which is Handi Quilter. Handi Quilter Pro Stitcher Lite. And here we go, it tells you all the things that you need, and then we can start it, and it comes up with a lovely American voice. And you can choose which one you want. So that's the Moxie and loft frame installation, the Simply 16 and loft frame, or the Moxie and little foot and the Simply 16 and little foot installation. So you choose which one you want. So we want it for the Moxie and loft frame. That's fine. Start. And it'll just going to download. Hopefully that's fairly quick. But it tells you all of the tools that you need, and it's great because, yep, extracting doesn't take very long if you've got a decent internet connection. Don't want to do that. Why is it going to that? Okay. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do review. Oh, that's interesting. Why has it done that? Okay, let's just do start. Oh. Okay, mine was open on my screen, so this would have made it a lot easier. I don't know why it's doing it again. Where's it in my stuff? My stuff. Okay, based on your experience so far, you found that the app is not as easy to use as you thought. 3D instructions.
Oh yeah, let me have a look at that.
Okay. Ah. There we go. Right. Anyway, it's really easy to use, as you can see. Fantastic, isn't it? Live demos on somebody else's phone. See, because we had to swap the phones over, I don't have it. My phone's being used to do this. Okay, so the other things that you get, we've printed off a lovely printed manual, like so. Okay, and this is really, really nice for the Pro Stitcher, and it's in the native format, so it's lovely. And that means that you can go through everything in terms of the instructions. And we also printed off for you the lovely Pro Stitcher Lite design catalogue. Okay, so in here are the 250 plus designs that you get. Alrighty. Like so. Lots and lots of designs. Loads of designs. You get a tablet, and when we put it onto the Moxie, it's not difficult to do. There's some screws that hold this tablet holder in place, and we put an extra lead in, and we have a USB lead. So when we put this in, I don't know whether you can help with this, Pete. Just getting the Built app. Okay, so it fits in like so. You sort of angle it, and then push it back, and then put this over the top like that, and then tighten that up. So your tablet is above your Moxie, and the screen's here. We put on a bar at the side as well, which has got a blue track on the underneath, like this. And we've also got the cable that we that transmits all the signals to the carriage. And that is pretty much it, which is why Carol took 45 minutes to put it, an hour and a half to put it together. You also have the blue flexi rack that we attach to the frame. This is what runs the X carriage, the X part of the carriage, the motors, and the Y is done using that rack that we put onto the underside of the machine. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do a quick little demo of doing a block, and then I'll set up an edge-to-edge design. So the screen is up here, okay, and I move my machine to where I want the design to be. I'm just going to do clear all and set up an area.
Might be worth switching that light off, Liz. Machine light.
Yeah. Okay. Why has that changed? Can't quite see all of the thing on there. Never mind. Right. Machine light. Okay. Yeah. That's better.
That's better. Be easier to see the stitch out on the screen.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so what we do on the Moxie, we actually, in the Simply 16 with the Pro Stitch Lite, we actually set up the area that we can possibly quilt in. It's called the frame space. And the frame space is really important. It's this black rectangle on the screen. I wonder whether you want to show it on that screen, Pete?
Got a bigger screen here. So this is displaying what Liz is seeing on the smaller tablet, but it should be easier for you to see on here.
And the crosshairs represent my needle. So on my quilt, I move the machine to where I want the block to be, and I set up my area as a 2-corner. So it just pings at you when you do the 2-corner. And you can see in either the home screen or in the frame view where that block is going to stitch out. I then want to go and find a design. So I go to File, Design, Open, and then I can find all my designs in here. I can also add designs. There's lots of websites where you can add designs. So we've got things like quiltable.com and Urban Elements and various other people. So let's just do this one. I haven't done this one before. And I want to skew this design into this here. Okay. And once I've done that, I'm going to do what's called baseline. Now, baseline basically says, right, whatever I've done up to this point, that is it. I'm not going to do anything else to the design. And if I do, it's on this new modified design, not the original size. If you don't know what something is on Pro Stitch Lite, you can actually go into context-sensitive help. And you can find out things like baseline, how it all works, and why you use it. So anything that you don't know, you can just kind of like be like a big kid. You kind of go, what does a line do? What does skew do? Etc. Right, now we got it set up in my frame space. So this here is my design. My crosshairs are here. I'm just going to move my machine and show you the design full scale. I get a Pro Stitcher, which is where everything to do with stitching out, recording, changing the gears from free motion to computerized happens. I can also measure. So I've got my measure on at the moment. I'll turn that off. And I go into run. Now I can have tie-off stitches at the beginning and the end, and I can have it so that the machine automatically does a pull-up. So I'm going to do that, and it verifies my settings. So this is pretty useful too, because it tells me I've got 5 tie-off stitches. I'm going to sew at 50%, and there's a few other things in there that might be relevant to me. I do a pull-up, and I pull my 2 threads, and now it's going to move the machine back. Do the tie-off stitches. I can pause it if I wish, and I can cut off my threads. I'll do resume. Pete's going to come over and show it actually stitching out.
Trudy, yes, today's session, like all of our Facebook Live sessions, they're posted afterwards on both Facebook and our YouTube channel, so you'll be able to watch it later today. So the screen's demonstrating what's being stitched out.
With orange.
There you can see what's happening rather than just showing you the blank screen over here. So you can see how far there is to go still.
There we go. When it finishes, it just does the micro tie-off stitches to come back to the beginning, and then it releases the motors. Do a final stitch, and then I can pull that up, and there's my design. Because there's no light, it's a little bit harder to see. There we go. So that's a design in a block. Now, obviously, one of the nice things about using Pro-Stitcher Lite is being able to do edge-to-edge designs. And that's something I'm going to set up now. So let's just do clear all. So when you're doing edge-to-edge, what you'll need to do is actually measure the width of the quilt and then put in a dimension for the length. So I'm going to do 2 corner. I'm going to come over and imagine that my edge to edge is this big, and then on the screen I'm going to type in the height of my quilt. Say it's 60. And if you look at this, I can see my whole quilt. And the black rectangle at the top, this black rectangle here, demonstrates how big the frame is, or the area that I can actually stitch without having to do another row, or move it on rather. So now I'm going to pick up an edge-to-edge design. So that's in continuous line designs. So I could do something like, let's do something nice like blossom cluster. Okay, and you can see that that design there, if I move that over, I can just check that I can actually fit it within that frame space, which I can, which is really useful to know. It's a height of 8 inches, so definitely it should be possible. But it's really important to do something where you know for certain that you can stitch it within the frame space that you have available. Then I'm going to go into the repeat tab and basically fill that design so that it goes all over. I'm going to increase my number of repeats in the horizontal and the vertical. And I'm just going to reduce that space a little bit on the vertical so that it's a little bit more bedded in. If I wanted to, I can go into the zoom tab and zoom in and just see what that looks like if I zoom in a little bit. These dash lines and these sort of little green squares that you can see here, if I just zoom in, see what I mean? That dash line shows where the next row, where the machine head will move if you let it automatically move to the start of the next row. Okay, so once we've got that, I need to basically crop away, and I'm going to baseline, and I'm going to crop away everything from the outside, like so that I've got everything that I want stitched within my quilt. And you see also that I've got a lot of stop starts. So I've got...
Just explain that, Liz. So on the left-hand side of the quilt here, there are lots of
stops and start positions. That's where the design has been truncated. And if you don't use the function, which on the right-hand side is above the inside box, just there, Pete's just moved to that. If I press edges now, you'll see what happens. They've gone. So it basically either does a short jump or a stitched line to get rid of all of those little stops and starts, which would take a long time to sew otherwise. Now I'm happy with that. I can look at my frame scale, or I can look at my whole quilt, and if I'm happy that that looks hunky-dory, then that's great. So you can see that top line, yes, I can stitch that within the throat space. I'm just even going to move my machine head to show you. Yep, I can stitch all of that in one go, like so. I can actually move my needle all the way down here because that was my frame space that I set up right at the beginning. I'm going to baseline again, and I'd probably save it as well. Well, I would save it for sure, absolutely for sure. So I'm just going to move my quilt on so that I can start stitching this out. And I would sew down the edges. So here it is, it's going to start here. So I'm just going to sew down the edges just to show you. As you progress your quilt, what you need to do is you can use, actually, the channel locks. So there's a channel lock, vertical channel lock, and I can just use that just to sew down my edges. If I want, I can actually reduce the stitch length. Take the needle up. Move it to the side. Oh, is that tight?
It's caught with the cable there, I think.
Ah, I'll put that there just to, oh yeah, that's not a good idea, is it? This is the first time we've done this HDMI to the TV. I just realised it was resting on the thread.
The cable from the screen to the TV was catching on the thread and not allowing the thread to
You won't have that
move
problem.
through.
Unless
So
you're doing
Leslie, yes, you're not far off getting set up with your Pro Stitcher Lite then.
That's good. I do the other side as well.
So you'd always do both sides for a Pro Stitcher design, Liz, would you?
I would. And also you would have your side clamps on. You need it to be as consistent as possible. So again, I use the vertical channel lock. I've got 6 stitches per inch. I mean, obviously this is like a test piece of fabric. It doesn't really represent what you'd normally have. Normally what you'd have is this back here, and you'd have your wadding, obviously, and your backing just on the right-hand side. So take your channel lock off, move it to the side, and anything else I do? No, I just make sure, I don't know whether it's worth pointing out actually, people who've got loft frames, if you find that the wadding has got rucked up at all, what you can do is move that out there and just lift that up as well and just rearrange your wadding if you need to.
You can then check if your wadding is nice and flat on top of your backing fabric.
Yeah, I don't think I've shown that to people before, but that's what I found.
No, that's very useful. And there you can put the front bar back in.
Because you know when you roll the wadding on, sometimes particularly with cotton, it sort of sticks to itself. That's just a really useful thing that you can do on the loft frame. And then you just tighten that again. Make sure that's all nice and even. Put your side clamps onto the backing. Don't make it so tight that it distorts your backing, because that wouldn't look too good either. And then just adjust that. So this is held onto the backing. There we go. Right, now I am ready to stitch. One thing that people who've got Pro Stitcher Lite for Moxie and Simply 16 need to know as well is that the frame space, you don't want to put your design too close to the frame space. There's a leeway, there's a margin of error there that you need to have. So if it says your design is outside your frame space, you need to make your frame space a bit bigger. I have had that. So now we're going to go into Pro Stitcher, press run, and what you're going to see is this is now going to move to that start position.
Yes, Lorraine, to answer your question, we use Hobbs 80/20 wadding.
So it does start, resume.
Show it starting here. Doing the micro stitches to begin with.
Oh, hang on, let me just pause. I've just realised I didn't change it back to 11. Which would have been a bit annoying. That is something that you can unfortunately do.
So for the basting stitches at the sides, Liz changed it to 4 stitches to the inch and almost forgot to change it back to a more suitable number. So again, in the same way, you can see it tracking on the screen. Right, so we can leave that.
Yep. We'll leave that stitching away.
You shouldn't move too far away.
No, because that is tempting fate. We won't go into, we won't nip home while that's stitching out. That's never a good idea. Oh, and the other thing is settings. I mean, some people might want it on precision. Other people might want it on cruise. I've actually got it on cruise with 150. And for certain designs, that will be fine. Others, you might not want it on that. So I'm just going to pause it and change it. I'll just show you when this is finished what the difference is. So if I go into the settings, change it to precision and 11 stitches per inch, that's fine. Oh, there we go. And I'm going to do resume. So it's now just in precision. So it stops immediately. Whereas the other one, it was doing extra stitches, and you get some smaller stitches potentially. So when it pauses, and as this has got quite a lot of stops and starts for the little flowers and things, maybe precision's better, but that's something that is a personal taste. If you don't mind having smaller stitches at the points, or you want smaller stitches at the points, then you'll probably want to have that setting. There we go.
So the inevitable question then, Liz, after the first row, and you roll the quilt up, you do the sides, and then how do you get it back to the design?
How do you get it back to the design?
So
using a feature called drag and drop, which basically attaches the computer and the quilt. It's basically saying, right, this point here, and you put your needle down, is now attached to that. And as you move your quilt up and onto the take-up rail, it moves the whole thing up on the screen as well, so that when you then start your next row, it is actually perfectly positioned. So it's called drag and drop, and there's some good instructions, both as a video and as a handout that you can find on the Pro Stitcher Lite tutorials on Education Pro Stitcher Lite. Plus, of course, if people want to, the other thing about education is that you can actually do the education and training on Pro Stitcher Lite on your desktop or tablet, so long as it's Windows based, or you can do Apple with a Windows scenario. And you can actually use Pro Stitcher Lite off of your Pro Stitcher Lite, which means that you can plan your designs, you can do everything, stitch it out on the Pro Stitch, on the Moxie, but you've designed everything on your tablet or desktop computer, perhaps with a bigger screen, and you'd be able to sort of download things from the internet and plan it. So there's a lot of functionality that you get with Pro Stitcher Lite. Includes updates, it's a 5-year warranty on the carriage, and it's a 2-year warranty on the tablet. So it's a really, I mean, it's a very fully featured program. Obviously, it's not quite as much as Pro Stitcher Premium. I mean, you're paying a lot more for Pro Stitcher Premium, which works on the Avanti, the Simply 16, the Amara, Forte, and Infinity. However, it does give you a huge amount of functionality at a relatively low considered purchase, obviously, but it's still a relatively low price point. And you've got us as support, so that means that we've got any questions that you want to ask. If we don't know the answer, we'll find out the answer.
So okay? Carol in the USA very kindly says that if she buys Pro Stitcher Lite, she wants to buy it from us, with Handi Quilter USA giving us credit. Now, I'm not sure it's going to work quite like that. Carol, we'd love it if it worked like that, but I don't think it works like that. Yeah,
can you tell Handi Quilter that you saw the demo on our pinhole
tell
quilting?
them what good people we are and what support we give.
I love it. I love it.
But thank you. You can still watch all of the education.
Absolutely. Anything we do on these Saturday sessions or on any other sessions, if they're on our YouTube channel, you can watch them. And we encourage anybody else who's watching this to subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you automatically get notified when there's new videos that we've uploaded, which we will be doing more and more of, particularly now since I've got all of this hooked up with the HDMI and everything, and I'm going to be doing some pretty neat videos coming up. Well, I think they'll be pretty neat anyway.
Carol, I know that it's possible to do that in the States, but because we're an international distributor in the UK, I don't think it works in the same way.
No, unfortunately. Unfortunately not.
Right, can I just point out something here that Liz is doing that she shouldn't be doing? She's leaning on the frame.
Don't do this. Do not do this.
Because she's potentially distorting the fabric, and therefore the computer doesn't know that the fabric's being distorted, and you'll end up with a distorted design. So when Pro Stitcher is running, Just let it run and don't lean on the frame.
Yeah. So it's really important not to do that.
So I'll come across to the screen here, then you can see where we are in terms of progress on that first row. What sort of speed do you have on there, Liz?
Sorry?
What speed do you have on there? Oh, I can see it here.
50%.
Yes, on the right-hand side it tells us this is running at 50% speed.
Actually, Pete, you know that whole thing about leaning on it? Look what it did.
Ah, here we are. Very good example of why you don't lean on the frame.
Yeah.
That clearly would normally be spot on as it was previously here. But Liz distorted the fabric by leaning on the frame.
Okay, should we pause that? We can finish touching that, or are you okay to leave it?
I think you can leave it.
Okay.
I think it's quite nice to see the whole row done.
It is.
Well, you can see here.
Yeah, look, that one's, it's come back.
Yeah, this is a really nice design. It would suit some quilts really well. There are around 250 designs in Pro Stitcher Lite.
There are.
As standard.
Yep. I'm glad I did that. I'm glad I did that sort of deliberate mistake for you to see what happens if you lean on the frame. I'm really glad I did that. Okay. What else we need to talk about is we've got one place left on Linda Jackson's course on feathers on the 5th and 7th of July. We'd love it if you were interested in coming on that. Just sign up, and it's still live. It will be taken down next week. So if you can come on that, that would be great. And we've also got places left on Talen's classes in September. So check out those classes, and we would love to see you with Talen. Now the 3-day course is full for stand-up customers, but there's 2 places left for sit-down, and there's also places left on the 2-day classes the week before. So we really hope you can join us for this international level of teaching from Talen. She does some wonderful classes, and we think you'll really enjoy it. So.
And we've also got some spaces left for Stuart's Open Day. I know you talked about the Open Day earlier, Liz.
I did. Yeah.
That's on the 11th of July.
11th of July. It's a morning or an afternoon session. It's only £10, and you'll get that reimbursed if you have any expenditure on either products or whatever, anything else that you might like while you're at our showroom.
So this is getting very close to the end here, look.
Yep.
So what happens next?
Yep, so it does the tie-off stitches. And it releases the motors because it's got a long jump pause, which basically means this dash line is more than, in this Moxie Pro Stitcher Lite, is more than 3 inches. So it will stop, let me cut those threads, which because it's on the edge, all I have to do is just move the machine to the side. As I say, the motors have been unlocked. Do that. I'll cut that one off as well. That was when I was doing the basting down the side. And bobbin thread. Okay, so what I want to do next is my drag and drop. So I pick somewhere in the middle of the quilt that's an easy to identify position, like this little flower. And I drop my needle down in that position there. I can close the long jump pause window, and I do drag, and then I take off my side clamps. And I move this on, and what you'll see, just watch on here, as I move it, it is literally moving up. If I just move that up there, you'll see the whole design is moving up within the frame area. Okay, so I move it so I can still get access to this little point here, but I want to make sure. So that's my little point there. But if you look at this black rectangle on here, what you'll see is that next line that's going to be stitched. You see those little flowers at the bottom? They are within my black rectangle. So I know that I can stitch this out without it hitting a bar or anything else like that. I wouldn't want it to hit a bar. That would be bad. So now I can press the drop, and that is now fixed. Take my needle up, and then it's going to start quilting again. I put on my side clamps.
So Di, when you booked your Open Day ticket with Stuart Hillard, you will have had to choose either the morning session or the afternoon session.
I chose the morning session.
Di chose the morning.
But you can move it to the afternoon, Di. That's not a problem.
Yeah.
Because you're coming up from Bristol, if you want to have a more leisurely day.
Okay, so Liz is fairly sure you've got the morning. If you want to change that, just let us know.
Now I would have basted down the sides like I did before. Okay, it's done the pull-up stitch. Oh. Yeah. Ooh, it's just got caught. Okay, so it does the pull-up. Oh, now Pete's moved it. Had I not tightened that up?
You hadn't put the ratchets on at all.
Okay, now.
So I was just putting the ratchets on.
That is a potential problem.
So you just have to double check.
Okay, right. So what I need to do now is just zoom in and see if this now corresponds. If you haven't done that, oh, we're pretty lucky actually. It's not far off. If you haven't done that, you look at a point like this one.
See it easier on here.
I might even be able to. Oh, I can't.
See if the needle corresponds to where it should do on the design.
Yeah, no, I can't do it. I can't move it now. I would have, yeah. What I should have done. See, this is why we do live demos, to show you what you don't want to do, because as I'm sort of thinking and talking and doing all these things, I do forget things. It is true. And what I didn't do was do my ratchets up and do all my faffing before I did my drop. So what's happened now is this isn't exactly over my needle. Okay, now that isn't necessarily a problem. What would you do? What would you do? I'd actually do cancel. Okay, I'm going to go in and I'm going to reposition this so that it is exactly where I want it to be. Bum, like this. And then I'm going to move it over like this using nudge, little nudge feature. And then I'm going to go into Pro Stitcher now. I don't want it to start, because I've cancelled out a Pro Stitcher. I don't want it to start on that first line. I'm going to point on the screen. So what happened was it stitched that line, we moved it up fine. But this start position now, I've come out of Pro Stitcher, and this is real life situation. I've now aligned it correctly, but I don't want it to start here, because it's going to start stitching up here. It's going to hit the bar. I want it to move that down to here. I'll show you how we do that. Okay, so we go into Pro Stitcher, New Start End, and I'm just going to move that jump down to there. Okay, I'm going to go into Quilt, and now what I do is I move the machine head a little closer, because I don't want to have any nasty surprises when it starts herring off in a different direction.
So Liz is expecting it to start there, and it is starting there. So that's a double check.
Yeah. Hang on.
Okay, Di, we'll see you on the morning session. Good.
Yeah. Oh, just having a bit of a problem with it pulling up there. There we go. Alrighty, and resume. So it's now stitching my second line. Now that is, I mean, some people actually do use the Pro Stitcher like that. They use it in a way where they just literally position every line, but I generally use drag and drop. So that's great. We're starting our next row. The thing is, you've got to know how to get out of Dodge if you need to. You get out of jail.
We have got support, there's a lot of support online. We have our Facebook group for our customers as well. And of course you can contact us, and we will also be doing Zoom training for our customers.
Yes. So things like recovery from thread break. I mean, the nice thing is a lot of these features are already on the Pro Stitcher Premium site, and they are very, very similar functions to what you've got on Pro Stitcher Lite. I mean, say for example, we had a thread break now. You need to know how to recover from that, right? So it would be very similar to what we just did, but it's actually a function. What's the matter?
So it looks as if my microphone has stopped working, whatever it is.
Okay, just put it back in, and then press those buttons on the side. That should have paired it again. Pete, say something. Can you all...
You're leaning on the frame again, Liz.
I'm not. I'm just touching it. touching.
It was a very light touch, Carol.
Very light, but I appreciate that.
Can you hear me now, everyone?
It's very tempting to lean on the frame, isn't it? It's like the sort of, it's like being in a pub. You kind of feel like you need to lean on it. Okay, that's all looking good. Happy with that. Oh, the other thing is in terms of settings, we recommend that you put your speed percent and acceleration percent at similar sort of levels. So I've got it at 50-50, you could have it at 40-50. Acceleration is how fast it goes into and out of curves. And so if it's a bit slower, it'll do like a slower acceleration. And this is all part of OptiStitch, which is one of the features of the Pro Stitcher, that it speeds up when it can do like long straight lines or big circles, and it slows down when it's doing more intricate stuff. So it gets a much better effect. And there we go. Well, I think that's it, isn't it? I mean, just to point out that was the leaning on the quilt error. Otherwise, they were all really good. And these are too. Even when I was touching the quilt frame, Carol, it didn't actually affect it. Look, perfect. Right. So that is Pro Stitcher Lite. We've talked about classes, workshops, etc. And we have the Festival of Quilts coming up. So what you might be interested in doing for Festival of Quilts is coming along. We've got a classroom full of Handi Quilter machines very close to our stand. And we would love to see you on one of the classes, particularly directed at the Introduction to Longarm Quilting is really for people who've never used the long arm but want to have more than a demonstration. And that would be for people that, might have come maybe last year and had a go, but they need a more in-depth session this year. That would be great if you could book on those. We've still got spaces left. I think Thursday, Friday morning might be full, but we've still got space on Saturday and Sunday. And then also there's the making, what is it called? I've forgotten now. I put it on the email, didn't I?
Making the most of your Handi Quilter.
Yeah, it's all about the other features. We're going to talk about the other feet that are available, and we're going to show you Pro Stitcher. So,
electromagnetic channel locks. Yeah,
electromagnetic channel locks. Some of the things that you wouldn't ordinarily see that we don't have time to show you when we're on the stand. And it's certainly not possible to do it to a group of 8 people. So we really look forward to seeing you at Festival of Quilts. And if you're an existing Handi Quilter owner, definitely do a meetup, and we would love to see you perhaps use our stand as a focal point. Not going to be difficult, because literally when you walk into the show, it's going to be right there. Okay, we are right by the entrance to the show, close to the award-winning quilts. So there we go. I think that's everything, Pete. I mean, it's 12 o'clock. Yeah, we need to finish that. So I'm just going to press pause. And it'll stop, and it just has stopped there. So there we go. There's our quilt. I could have all of this finished. This whole thing, this whole piece. Oh, and we've been doing the testing out of all of the Pro Stitcher lights, haven't we, Pete? Mm-hmm. We want to make sure that everything is hunky-dory and all of the levels are right, the software levels and stuff on the products that have come in, these brand new Pro Stitcher lights. And so Mark, our operations manager, Mark, has been testing these all out, and he's been doing a great job at making sure everything is hunky-dory for you when you get your machine. So there should be everything in the box. There should be everything that you've got information for, and we really hope that those new customers who've got Pro Stitcher Lite enjoy using it. It's a great way to finish more quilts. So just want to say from me and Pete, Pinhole Quilting, have a wonderful weekend. And happy Father's Day to all those lovely fathers out there. And I know those of you, who's, I'm very lucky that my father is still around. And I know it's a day when we celebrate the fact that we're lucky enough to have them. Okay, here we go. I think that's it, Pete. Big shout out to
Bye.
Bye. Happy quilting.